I ran away from home after my parents split up. Everything felt broken, and I thought the only safe place would be my grandfather's house in Los Angeles. So I stood on the side of Interstate 5, sticking out my thumb, hoping someone would stop and give me a ride south. Two other people were there too, waiting for rides. One was a tall guy with a baseball cap, and the other wore a hoodie. We talked a little while we waited. "Be careful who you get in with," the tall one said. "Some drivers are weird." I nodded, trying to look confident. I told myself I could handle it. After a while, a blue van pulled up. The driver looked older, with gray hair and a rough face. "Where are you headed?" he asked. "Los Angeles," I said. He glanced at the two guys, then at me. "I can only take one. The girl's small. She'll fit." Even though the van looked empty, he shook his head at the guys. "No room for all of you." The two guys exchanged nervous glances. One whispered to me, "Don't go alone with him. Something feels off." But I waved them goodbye anyway. I told myself it's daytime, he seems normal, and what could happen? I climbed into the passenger seat. The door shut with a click and we drove off. At first it seemed harmless. He asked about my family. "Parents fighting," he said. I shrugged. "Yeah," I mumbled. He nodded slowly. "Life can be hard," he said, like he understood. We passed long lines of trucks and cars, the road stretching flat ahead. Then he missed the turn for the highway south. "Hey, that's the way to L.A., I said, pointing. "Shortcut," he said with a strange smile. "Faster this way." But the road started looking wrong. Instead of the city ahead, we were heading into empty desert land. No buildings, no people, just dry dirt, rocks, and dusty hills. "This isn't right," I said, my voice shaking. "Turn around." He didn't listen. My stomach dropped. I realized I had made a big mistake. When he stopped the van by a group of bushes, my mind raced. I wanted to run, but the area was wide open. There was nowhere to hide. He came back quickly, too quickly. I barely had time to react before he grabbed me. I struggled, but he was strong. He tied my hands with rope from under the seat and got back in the van. My heart pounded, and fear spread through me like ice. He drove further into the desert, silent and cold. I stayed quiet, trying to think, trying to figure out a way to escape. Hours passed. The sky turned dark, the stars blinking above. The van stopped again, and this time he stepped out. I saw a chance. I pushed the door slowly, slipping out as quietly as I could. My legs burned, my heart raced, but I ran. Rocks cut my shoes, and the dirt made me stumble, but I kept moving, hiding behind bushes, staying low. Finally, after what felt like forever, I saw lights on the road. Cars were moving, their headlights cutting through the dark. One car drove by without noticing me, but the next one stopped. A woman and a man looked out in shock. "Are you okay?" the woman gasped. He tried to hurt me," I managed to say. "Please, hospital." They didn't hesitate. They wrapped me in a blanket and drove fast. At the hospital, the doctors were quick and kind. I told the police everything, the van, the man's face, every word he said. Weeks later, they caught him. In court, I saw him again. He tried to look scary, but I didn't back down. I told the judge everything, even the parts that made my stomach twist with fear. He went to prison, and I made sure the police knew he had to stay locked up. Years went by. I learned to be careful, to trust my instincts, and to never get in a stranger's car again. I focused on art, making things with my hands, building a life that felt safe. I have a family now, and I live quietly. But sometimes, when I stand on a road, I remember that ride, the fear, the running, and the relief of finally being safe. It taught me to be brave, to think fast, and to always watch out for myself. I had just finished visiting my aunt in a tiny town up north. It was one of those quiet places with only one bakery, one gas station, and a whole lot of trees. My aunt was super sweet and made blueberry pancakes every morning, but it was time for me to head home. The problem? My bus ticket got messed up because the station mixed up the schedule. They told me I'd have to wait until the next day. But I didn't want to stay overnight. I just wanted to get home. Money was tight, and in this area, lots of people sometimes stuck out their thumb for a ride because everyone kind of helped each other. So I walked to the side of the highway. The road was long and straight, stretching between tall pine trees. It almost looked like a big gray ribbon someone dropped on the ground. Cars zoomed past every few minutes, making little gusts of wind that pushed my hair back. I lifted my arm and waited for someone nice to stop. After a while, a huge truck slowed down with a loud hiss and stopped beside me. The door swung open, and a man with a scruffy beard leaned across the seat. He had tired eyes, like he hadn't slept well in a long time. "Need a lift?" he asked. His voice sounded rough, like gravel, but not mean. "Yes, please," I said quickly. I climbed in and buckled up. "I'm trying to get to the next town. It's about 30 miles east." "Sure," he grunted. "Name's Tom." Inside the truck, it smelled like old coffee, dusty blankets, and a bit like someone had been smoking. Tom said he hauled logs for work and drove all over the place. At first, we talked a little. He asked where I came from, and I told him about my aunt who baked the best pies on earth. He gave a small laugh, but it didn't sound very happy, more like he was pretending. After a while, the cab got quiet. The trees outside grew thicker, darker, like they were leaning toward the road. The sky was turning orange as the sun started going down. Then Tom asked, "You hitchhike a lot?" "Not really," I said, "only when I really need to. People around here are usually pretty nice." He made a strange smirk. "Nice? You ever hear about the girls who go missing on this road? Some folks say the road just takes them." My arms got goosebumps. I had heard whispers, tiny scary stories from friends, but I always thought they were made up. I forced out a laugh. "That's just rumors." "Maybe," he said, gripping the wheel tighter. "But I've seen cars left on the side with nobody around. Picked up a girl once. She was chatty, then quiet, never saw her again." I swallowed hard. Something felt weird. The dashboard lights flickered, and every few minutes he glanced at me, not friendly, more like he was inspecting me. We passed a rest stop sign, but he didn't slow down. "You thirsty?" he asked suddenly. "Got water in the back." "No, thank you," I said quickly. My stomach felt twisty. He kept checking the rearview mirror too, like he was expecting someone to be following us. A few minutes later, without warning, he turned off the main highway. "Shortcut," he said. The new road was narrow and bumpy. Branches scraped the sides of the truck, making awful screeching noises. No cars around. My phone had no service. The sky was darker now. "This doesn't look like a shortcut," I said, trying not to sound scared. "Can we go back?" He didn't answer. He slowed the truck, stared at me, and said softly, "You're pretty. Reminds me of someone." Every hair on my neck stood up. "Please take me back," I said, gripping the door handle tightly. He stopped the truck. Everything went silent except the engine rumbling. "Get out," he said. I blinked. "What?" "Get out and walk if you don't like it." Then I saw it. His hand was near his pocket, and something sharp was sticking out. My heart hammered. I forced myself to stay calm. "Okay," I said quietly. I opened the door and stepped onto the dirt. The air outside felt cold and heavy. He watched me with a creepy smile. "Run along." I started walking toward the direction we came from, slowly, carefully. Then I heard his truck door open, feet crunching on the ground. He was following me. My heart exploded in panic. I walked faster, faster. Then I ran. The trees blurred as branches whipped my arms. I heard him shout behind me, "Hey, come back! I was just joking." But it didn't sound like a joke at all. I sprinted through the forest, zigzagging between trees. He crashed through the bushes behind me, getting louder, closer. "You can't get away!" he yelled. I tripped over a root and scraped my knees, but I forced myself back up. My lungs burned. In the distance through the trees, I saw lights, bright, white, steady. The highway. I pushed myself harder. I ducked behind a big tree. His footsteps stopped. The woods went silent. My breathing sounded so loud I was afraid he'd hear me. Then, crack! A twig snapped nearby. I peeked slowly. He was right there. A knife glinted in his hand. I bolted. He chased instantly. The trees opened up, and suddenly, I was at the edge of the highway. A car was coming. I waved my arms like crazy. "Help!" The car slowed, an older couple. The woman rolled her window down. "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" "He's chasing me," I gasped. The man jumped out with his phone. "Get in the back, now!" I scrambled inside, and the woman locked the doors. Tom burst out of the trees, saw the car, froze, and then ran back into the dark forest. They drove me straight to the police station. I told the officers everything, the knife, the road, the weird stories he'd told me. They listened carefully. One officer shook his head. "You're lucky. We've had other reports about a man like that." They searched for him, but he was gone. Even now I think about that night, about the trees, the dark road, and Tom's strange smile. I still warn everyone, never hitchhike alone. Some roads hide dangerous secrets. It was a fun night, laughing and dancing, but I drank a bit too much beer and missed my ride home. My house was in a suburb called Palmyra, not too far, but walking alone late at night didn't feel smart. Still, I started down the quiet street, hoping to thumb a lift from someone nice. A white car pulled up beside me. Inside was a man and a woman, both looking ordinary like any couple. The woman leaned over and smiled. "Need a ride?" she asked. "It's late. Where are you headed?" "Palmyra," I said, relieved. "Just up the road, thanks." The man nodded. "Hop in the back. We're going that way." I got in and we drove off. They introduced themselves as David and Catherine. "Had a good night?" Catherine asked, turning to look at me. "Yeah, party with friends," I replied. "You guys out late too?" David chuckled. "Just driving around. Nice to help out." The car smelled like cigarettes and something sweet, maybe air freshener. We chatted about nothing much, music on the radio, the cool air, but then David turned down a side street I didn't know. "Shortcut," he said when I asked. My heart started beating faster. The houses looked different. "This isn't the way to Palmyra," I said, sitting up. Catherine turned, her smile gone. "Relax, we're taking a quick stop." David stopped the car in front of a plain house on Morehouse Street. "Come inside for a minute," he said, his voice harder now. I shook my head. "No, I want to go home. Let me out." Before I could move, David grabbed my arm and pulled a knife from his pocket. The blade flashed under the streetlight. "Get inside or I'll use this," he growled. Fear hit me like a wave. Catherine opened the door and helped push me toward the house. "Don't make noise," she whispered. "It'll be worse if you do." Inside, the place was dim, with old furniture and a musty smell. They led me to a bedroom and made me sit on the bed. David chained my ankle to the bedpost, the metal cold and tight. "What are you doing?" I cried. "Please let me go. My parents will look for me." Catherine laughed softly. "No one knows you're here. Be good, and it might not hurt too much." David left the room and Catherine stayed, watching me. She smoked a cigarette, blowing smoke in my face. "We've done this before," she said. "Girls like you. Just do what he wants." I begged her. "Why me? I didn't do anything. Please help me." She shook her head. "I can't. He's my husband. We do this together." David came back with a drink. "Here, swallow these pills," he ordered. "It'll make you calm." I refused, but he forced my mouth open and pushed them in, holding my nose until I swallowed. They were sleeping pills, making me drowsy fast. The room spun. Then he started touching me, taking off my clothes. I fought, but the chains held me, and he was strong. He hurt me bad over and over. Catherine watched the whole time, sometimes joining in. "Good girl," she murmured. "See? It's easier if you don't fight." The pain was awful, like fire inside. I cried quietly, thinking of my family, wondering if I'd ever see them again. Hours passed in that nightmare. When he finished, they left me chained there, naked and sore, in the dark room. Morning came slow. David unchained me and gave me clothes to wear, their clothes, baggy and strange. "You're coming with me to work," he said. "Act normal, or I'll kill you right there." Catherine nodded. "And we'll find your family too. Hurt them worse." They drove me to a phone company where David worked. He made me walk around the parking lot, collecting car license numbers on a paper. "Write them down," he snapped. "Don't talk to anyone." People were around, workers, cars coming and going, but David watched me close. I thought about running, screaming for help, but the knife was in his pocket, and his eyes promised death. My hands shook as I wrote the numbers. One man smiled at me as he passed. "Hi there," he said. "Hi," I mumbled, heart pounding, but David was too near. I couldn't risk it. Back at the house that afternoon, they chained me again. David went out and Catherine sat with me. "You did okay," she said. "Maybe we'll keep you longer." "Please," I whispered. "Let me go. I won't tell." She just smiled. David decides. When he returned, they made me dance for him, no clothes on. The music played low, some old song. "Move," he commanded. I did, tears running down my face, feeling so small and broken. Then he pulled me to the bed again, chaining me beside him. Catherine slept in another room. He hurt me more that night, his breath hot and sour. "You're mine now," he whispered. I lay awake after, staring at the ceiling, the chain biting my skin. I had to escape. Tomorrow, somehow. Next morning, David got up early for work. He unchained me to use the bathroom, then chained me back to the bed. Catherine checked on me. "Stay quiet," she said, locking the bedroom door before leaving to drop him off. The house went silent. I tugged at the chain, solid locked to the bed, but the window was there, closed but not locked. It was small, high up, with a screen. I stood on the bed, heart racing. Could I fit? I pushed the window open slow, no noise. The screen popped out easy. Outside was a backyard, fence, then street. Freedom. But the chain held me back. It was long enough to reach the window, but not out. I wrapped it around my hand, pulled hard. The bed moved a little. It wasn't bolted down. Hope surged. I yanked again and again, dragging the heavy bed toward the window, inch by inch. Sweat dripped down my back. The frame scraped the floor, loud in the quiet. Finally, the bed was close enough. I climbed up, squeezed my head through the window, then shoulders. The chain pulled tight on my ankle. I twisted, pushed, ignoring the scrapes on my skin. My body slid out, falling to the grass below with a thud. The chain caught, but I was free, except for the metal still on my leg. No time to worry. I ran, barefoot, down the street, houses blurred by. I knocked on the first door. No answer. Second, nothing. Third, a woman opened, eyes wide at me, dirty and wild. "Help," I gasped. "I've been kidnapped. Call the police." She let me in, gave me water. "What happened?" she asked, dialing the number. "A couple took me, hurt me. Please hurry." Police came quick. 2 officers, a man and a woman. I told them everything, the car, the house, the chains, the pain. "Their names are David and Catherine," I said, "on Morehouse Street." The woman officer looked doubtful. "You sure? You look okay? Maybe you ran away from home?" "No," I shouted. "It's true. Take me there. I'll show you." They drove me to the station first, asked more questions. I repeated it all, crying now. "Believe me, they're killers. I saw things in the house, videos, weird stuff." Finally, the woman officer named Laura said, "Okay, let's check the address." We drove to Morehouse Street. I pointed out the house. "That's it." They knocked. Catherine answered, calm as anything. "Can I help you?" The officers went in with me. I showed them the bedroom, the chain still there, bed pulled to the window. David wasn't home yet, but Catherine's face went pale. They arrested her. Later, when David got home, police grabbed him too. In the house, they found evidence, videos of other girls, graves in the backyard. 4 girls before me, all killed after being hurt like that. The trial was long. I had to stand in court, face them again. "That's the man who chained me," I said, pointing at David. "He hurt me bad." Catherine stared at me, no emotion. The judge gave them life in prison. David died there later, but Catherine's still locked up. I got help after, talked to doctors about the fear that stayed with me. Now I live normal, but I warn others. Never take rides from strangers. That night on the road could have ended me, but I fought back. I escaped,